AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Chris Keune. Chris is the VP of Data Product and Insights at Kargo. Chris, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So Chris, let's start with your own background. Can you give us some insight into what your journey has been, where you first got started in technology? Walk us through some of the roles you've held along the way, and take us up to just before you joined Kargo.
Absolutely. So I've naturally always been interested in data and advertising. Actually, I tell a story all the time where when I was a young kid, I would take tallies and scores of advertising commercials if they were specifically targeting a boy toy product versus a girl toy product, and corresponding that with the types of shows they were on, whether it was a male-oriented television show or female-oriented. And I would take this very messy data and I would present it to my teacher. I'd be like, hey, why is this happening? Why is there a disproportionate amount of girl products being advertised on boy-oriented TV shows? My teacher would look at this and say, well, apparently someone's not doing their job. And it dawned on me like, oh, that could be a thing. That could be a job, a profession, a calling. So right then and there, I knew that data and advertising was just a part of my natural affinities. And I've always kind of gravitated towards those spectrums. And I, like most people on the podcast, I felt like the journey is never a linear one. It has twists and turns, bumps and scrapes. So right after college, I enlisted in the Air Force. Right after my duty was up, I went into corporate America. I went into healthcare, a massive insurance brokerage firm, joined a startup, and went into an ad agency and kind of took little bits and pieces along those journeys of what I liked about that specific opportunity, what I didn't like, and continue to evolve my skill set and my desire to find the perfect role and the perfect company that would help me develop those skill sets. So after my tenure at iHeartRadio, where I was the head of analytics there, I had this wonderful opportunity to go back into advertising at Essence Digital. Their main client is Google. We were doing wonderful things. I mean, Google, as such a household name, needed advanced measurement and advertising capabilities to help keep their products top of mind. Things like Chrome, search, maps, things that we take for granted every day. There's a full marketing team behind it, continue to promote that message. So I was fortunate to be a part of that experience. Then after that, a wonderful opportunity at a company called Kargo arose, where they were starting to build out their analytics and data science teams. Kargo was really focused about bringing the experience and the art back into advertising. As my experience in advertising, and given the rise of things like programmatic and data advertising, it became apparent to me that advertising has been getting a kind of a unwelcoming experience across the cohort, whether it's from Facebook or any of those big companies, how they utilize advertising, or even just seeing like web pages where you see like ads plastered all over the place and you're not really getting any value out of that exchange. Advertising to me is a value exchange between the consumer and the publisher. And that is one thing that Kargo really wanted to implement, that value exchange, by making sure that we were on the best publishers and delivering the best advertising experience as possible, specifically on the mobile web.
Got you. Well, first of all, Chris, thanks for the background of yourself. Quite an interesting journey from military into various industries, all within technology, from healthcare, advertising, and now you found yourself at Kargo. So, before you give us some insight into your role and your team, at a very high level, who are Kargo? What are you guys trying to do in the advertising space? What drew you to Kargo, and then walk us through your position.
So I joined Kargo, and they were just beginning their data science journey. They were still building their data warehouse. So I had a wonderful pleasure to team up with a talented group of data engineers, and teaming up with them and working with myself to understand what type of analytics, insights, and data we need to expose to our key stakeholders. And that was because in my previous roles, I was really focused on a blending of analytics and data science. I felt like data science and analytics had just a natural matriculation with each other. And now I'm seeing data science becoming more of a hybrid field across the board. So that explains how my role shifted at Kargo. After I was really, flourishing at the analytics side of Kargo, it dawned on me that there was data that we can monetize and help answer advertising questions and challenges that Kargo can deliver. So Kargo is this, I would consider it to be a blend of a mobile ad network and an ad tech company where we build custom technology solutions for everybody across the Fortune 500. We specifically focus on the creative experience. So we are really have unique ad units that really separate us from the standard advertisements you may see on the traditional mobile web. The best part of it is that our direct integrations with our publishers allows us to do things that advertisers can. We can build ad units that break out of the frame. We can make it more customizable. We can gamify the ads. So there's a real unique experience behind the ad. There's a lot of technology that powers the ads, and data is a core component on how those advertisers deliver the right message in the right environments, in the right conversations, to the right audiences. So that is where my discovery has landed me. I transitioned from this analytics role to a more of a data solution, data product role, where I was able to augment a lot of the data science capabilities and build products that our internal and our external clients can use to help deliver brand messaging and make sure that they're actually delivering on their outcomes.
We're seeing this huge shift in this industry in particular, moving towards more analytical, modern AI and machine learning driven platforms and services for traditional ad spend, where many firms would have huge budgets and would often struggle to see where the spend is being utilized. And Kargo are obviously a company who are capitalizing on that. You touched on the types of organizations, many of which being Fortune 500. Would you be able to give us a recent example of a project that you and your team were working on and for a client? What specifically you guys were trying to do for them and the impact they have, just to give our listeners a sense of how revolutionary this type of technology is for the ad tech industry.
Absolutely. So one of the big things that we're working on this year is due to a industry change that's matriculating down from Apple and eventually Google. It's the death of the third-party cookie. The cookie is crumbling and therefore is putting a lot of emphasis on brands that have built these huge data capabilities and data management platforms. And now half of that inventory or half that utilization is going to be vaporized because Apple's getting rid of third-party cookies, and eventually in 2022, Google is going to follow suit, which makes tracking and measurement extremely difficult in these environments. So while we are still have the cookie now in some sort of capacity, we've been partnering up with key telecom companies and financial companies to take their audience data that they have now onboard it to our platform, and essentially marry it with our contextual data set. Now, our contextual data set has been, I would say, refined and extracted in terms of pulling out not only just whatever the article is talking about, but really looking at the style. Was it written in a fun way? Was it written in a more serious tone? Is it a lean in or a lean back experience? We look at things like sentiment. What is the emotional resonance that the article provides? And what are the topics? Like, what is the article really talking about? And who are the users? Who are the audiences that this article is really gravitating to? Who is galvanizing this content? So we take I would say, the corpus of the articles within our network. We discover where these audiences are from a first-party data perspective, mirror them, and what we can do is build a unique contextual lookalike solution that is completely cookieless, but still offers the same fidelity as if they were going to reach out in terms of audience targeting. So there's a lot of data. It touches upon many different data science techniques. We're talking about advanced clustering mechanisms, probabilistic matching. We're looking at advanced NLP capabilities. So some of these we obviously build ourselves. Some of these we reached out into open APIs that help us build for us. There's tons of companies out there that do NLP very well. There's no reason for Kargo to, in my opinion, start from scratch from an NLP service. Tap into one of the players who do this for a living and allow them to refine the data, but then we will build a unique data set that can be actioned by other companies. And that's where I see the value proposition. Like in earnest, like data is, they say data is the new oil. But I kind of challenge that. Like, well, not really. Oil is just a thing in the ground. How you refine it, how you extract it, and how do you actionalize it. So I would consider that the data that we are using, we're refining it, and we are like the fuel that's going into the engine. And that engine is advertising campaigns or brand strategies or just marketing messages that we can really help empower. And that's what I've been working with Kargo. So that was just one example that we're working on.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. I appreciate you walking us through it, and it sounds equal parts exciting and challenging, and I'm sure there's a lot of engineers and scientists on your team who are enjoying the work. Could you give us some insight then into what the journey has been like from when you first joined to now? Some of the challenges you faced and what you're most excited about as you look ahead for the future of the project pipeline and your data team?
One of the challenging things that we've been at Kargo is how do we align the various different disciplines of data, because data can mean many different things. So the first thing is that we made a conscious decision to separate data engineering from data science and product. Data science and product would then be split out into three different tenets head up by me. Our first tenet is what I consider to be the audience and identity selection. So this is the discipline where we're looking at building unique audiences, whether it's through our contextual products or our first-party data solutions, and building out insights on top of that. The ad targeting portion is how do we take the insights and the audience and the identity capabilities and turn them into actionable data strategies and capabilities for our clients to use. Not only that, how do we research into third-party data, whether it's weather targeting, news that is trending on Google or Facebook or Instagram? How do we take those various third-party insights and build into a cohesive data strategy so our clients can use? And the last part of that is really the measurement and insights. We've done all this data, we've done all this collection, we executed. Now, how do we determine success? So not only have we partnered up with some of the leading third-party research firms, we actually built our own first-party data measurement solutions, whether it's statistical modeling from a brand survey perspective, or we're looking at control and exposed, we're starting to go into causal inference research, like what would happen if you did apply this targeting or didn't apply this targeting, so we can make causal inferences for like the next time they want to run a media campaign. We can definitely start to look at causal effects. And I think that's going to be a big shift in the industry as things start to move into more of a Bayesian or probabilistic area. Causal inferences and causal impact is going to be incredibly important when things become less deterministic due to the cookie being crumbled.
Switching gears slightly, focusing on your current team, how you've gone about bringing in talent, what's the makeup of the various skill sets required to work on these projects, and then looking ahead, what's the growth in store for 2021?
This team is small but mighty, I would say. They are a handful of folks that really focus on specific, within those three tenets, they are really focused on one of those major swim lanes. So I'm trying to keep them as focused and disciplined within a specific target, but I do like to hire, I like to look for more of a eclectic background, whether they don't need to have a data science degree or come from a data science boot camp. I like to see things where they could have been a chemistry major and did a boot camp and spent a year working at a nonprofit. That, to me, as long as you can really do the basic fundamentals, everything can be taught. But if you don't have a solid set of fundamentals, then I can't work with that, unfortunately. And when I say fundamentals, I really mean like understanding the question that you're trying to answer. You know, Abraham Lincoln said, and I take this to heart, you know, if he had an hour to cut a tree down, he would spend 50 minutes sharpening his axe and just 10 minutes chopping away. And I feel like that's how we should approach data science. We should approach questions as if there was unknowns within that question and challenge the question. And how do we explore the data compartments that can complement or auxiliarize that question? And that is where sometimes like subject matter, being a subject matter expert in a specific field helps, because you'll see things that may be blinded by the data. Or sometimes if you have an eclectic background, you have a various amount of experiences working with different problems, so you can find the mental model to fit into that specific solution. That is where I look for eclectic, wide rather than depth, because I feel like depth can always be taught. And plus, the way the industry is changing, it's changing so fast. You can master a technology or machine learning capability that can soon be obsolete next year. So I feel like keep your tool belt, you know, knowledgeable, the new products that are coming out, but make sure you stick to your foundations on answering the question correctly, testing that, and building out experiments and help to test that hypothesis, and challenging the question in different ways. So when you come up to the answer, you can question yourself, is that the right approach? Can we do better? And I think when you look at it from different lenses, that is when you can really prove it's like, I am doing a true data science work.
Final question from me. For candidates who are interested in the work you're doing at Kargo and potentially interested in interviewing in the future, what piece of advice could you offer for a candidate who has the background you're looking for? How can they best portray that in interview? What can they be working on that will help them present their best version of themselves?
All right. 3 main tips. If you're ever applying to a data science position, or for these 3 tips, if you're applying online, always leave a cover letter. Make sure the cover letter is specific to the role, and make sure you read about how your capabilities are going to fit into either the company's objectives or the department's objectives, or why you're just interested in it. Data science is such a bludgeoning field in terms of candidates. It's impossible for a hiring manager like myself to sift through hundreds of resumes. So I really focus on the ones who have a cover letter, the one who kind of went a little bit above and beyond instead of just hitting the apply button. But did the research on the company, really thought about applying to the role, felt that it was worthwhile to write a cover letter, and therefore was able to put the effort in. That will always get a hiring manager's attention, without a doubt. The second one is build your data science portfolio, whether it's on GitHub or you have a specific data science website, or you're building applications either in Python or R using RStudio. You need something to show, because as a manager, I like to see things, the type of work that you've done, the type of questions you answered. I even like to see if you've done any white paper work. Always put that material either in your cover letter or somewhere prevalent within your resume, because those are going to be the first things people look for. Like, what kind of work does this person really do? And how can that work really fit into my team? And the last one is really, it's in the resume itself. I see a lot of keywords and technology jargon within resumes. Like, I used, KNN means clustering to take a sample from 100 million to 10 million. And that's fantastic. Or you'll increase the sensitivity and accuracy score of a model from 95 to 99. That's great. But it doesn't give me context of why you did it. What was the business outcome that you did that? And not only that, like how it made an impact not only to yourself or your team, or as the organization as a whole. So I would say less bullet points, but more emphasis on what you did. Because most of the time, I understand data science is a broad field. We do work on a lot of things, but try to focus on the things that had the most impact. I don't have a lot of time to read a resume, but if I see someone who took time to actually diligently write the outcome of their effort, puts me in a position like, okay, they know why they did it and they saw the outcome. So they're actually seeing the forest from the trees type of methodology. So those are the three things that I really look for when it comes to hiring a data science team.
That's a cheat code for anyone listening who wants to execute the perfect interview. Chris, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today. Really appreciate you sharing your background. I think it's a great story. It's a good example of how an individual can move around different industries while progressing forward. And you've now landed at an incredible company in Kargo. Very interesting work, and the insight you've given into how to interview and what candidates can learn from it is very helpful indeed. So we appreciate your time.
Always a pleasure, JV. It was a pleasure meeting you and wishing you all the best in 2021.
Thank you so much.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.